We're glad to have you back. Now, the government says it will review the plan to give 8,000 naira palliatives to poor citizens for 6 months. This comes on the back of opposition and a lot of comments back and forth with regards to this. Effiong Gekop takes a look at this action.
Government's attempt to give 8,000 naira palliative to poor Nigerians has been put on hold. This follows opposition, criticisms, and outright rejection of the financial palliatives by concerned citizens. The removal of subsidy from petrol had raised pump price of the product from 195 naira to more than 500 naira per litre, and on Tuesday this week, the price of the product moved beyond 600 naira per litre. While transport costs are beyond abilities of many Nigerians, food prices in the market, costs of drugs in the hospitals, and general welfare have worsened. Many people have suggested to governments to pump money into agriculture, revamp the energy sector, and modernize our rural roads. Meanwhile, the citizens are faced with another round of increase in the pump price of petrol, occasioned by upward adjustments by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited.
What I know is that the market forces will regulate the market. Prices will go down sometimes it will go up, but there will be stability of supply, and I'm also assuring Nigerians that this is the best way to go forward so that we can adjust prices when market goes. I don't have the details this moment, but I know that our marketing wing acts just like every other company.
Nigerians are waiting for government's wholesome plans to improve their living standards after the subsidy removal on petrol. Effiong Gekop, TVC News, Lagos.
An economist, Dr. Andrew Nevin, joins me to talk more about this from the United Kingdom, London, precisely. Dr. Nevin is the immediate past chief economist and partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers. Dr. Nevin, it's good to see you. How are you doing?
Partnership. I still have a relationship with PwC Nigeria, but I'm no longer partner.
Yeah, of course. That's why I called you the immediate past chief executive and
past partner. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm the past partner.
All right then. Before we'll talk about that, but before we get into that, I'm sure you're aware of this 8,000 naira plan to be distributed to 12 million homes and all of that. We've been on this back and forth, and the government is saying, no, we're going to revisit this. How does it come to you? You're an economist. What do you think is the best way to start to put in palliatives for Nigerians? Because it's not really easy at this time, I must tell you.
Yeah, so I mean, we had a corrupt foil subsidy program where a lot of the money was diverted. Either there was no foil or went to other countries, and we scrapped that. It was unaffordable, and it wasn't actually achieving anything apart from fueling corruption. So now we're trying to replace it with a very fast palliative program. It's not really clear to me what the purpose of it is. I mean, 8,000 naira a month isn't going to make much difference. All of a sudden, groups are coming out saying that they care about the bottom of the pyramid. Well, when we had 60 million poor people, did they care? When we had 70 million, did they care? When we had 90 million, did they care? They only seem to care because of the removal of the foil subsidy. I mean, what my counsel to the government has been is, let's just focus on the fundamentals. The number one thing that would help the bottom of the pyramid in this country is an improvement in the security situation. Because the insecurity is what's contributing massively to the incredible food inflation we have. What really affects the bottom of the pyramid is food prices. So if we could do something to bring down inflation or even bring down food prices, that would really make a difference, and that's improved security. But 8,000 naira a month of palliatives for 6 months, I'm not sure what it accomplishes. And of course, again, it's another program in Nigeria that's open for diversion. Is the money really getting to those it's supposed to help? And we're borrowing, if I understand the press correctly, we're borrowing this money, 40-year money, 40-year term from the World Bank. So we have a 40-year debt to give 6 months worth of palliatives. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Now, back to inflation is at 22.7%. The price of PMS now is fluctuating. The NNPC GMD is saying market forces will determine the price at the moment. Now, so what do you think about this flip-flop and, of course, the impact generally on the masses?
Well, I mean, obviously we're in a difficult macroeconomic situation, but again, let's go back to the fundamentals. The two primary reasons why we're having this inflation problem, one I already mentioned is insecurity. The second one is because of the decline in the Naira rate. So the parallel market rate was more than 800 yesterday, is reported by the press. So obviously it was 160 when I came. So by a factor of 5, the Naira dollar rate has changed. Now, why is that? Well, we have $80 US dollar oil prices. We should actually have a very strong Naira. The reason is because of the collapse in production. So those are the two fundamental things that are driving inflation that affects both the bottom of the pyramid, the rural dwellers, but also affects the urban dwellers that buy imported goods, imported manufactured goods, and every good has some component of imported product in it. And of course, the Naira rate is very important for the well-being of people. And yet the government has allowed the oil production to decline from 1.7 to 1.6 to 1.3 to less than 1, up now maybe at 1.2 or 1.3. But you can see why we're in such difficulty with the oil subsidy. We were subsidizing, I think, 650,000 barrels a day, and we were only taking out 1 million barrels a day. There was effectively nothing to give to the economy, nothing to give to the Federation account. And I think most of the watchers of the show probably know there's been no transfer to the Federation account from the NMPC. I think now it's starting in July, but before that, 18 months on that. So those are the two things that have really driven inflation. So if we want to address it fundamentally, there's nothing the MPC or the CBN can really meaningfully do. I mean, they're doing their job, trying to monitor where the interest rate should be, but that's not the fundamental issue. The two fundamental issues, as I said, are insecurity and the decrease in hydrocarbon production, which has really affected our Naira exchange rate. So if we address those two issues, I think we'd be in a much better macroeconomic place, and everyone in this country, including the bottom of the pyramid, will be better off, much, much better off than any gain they would get from 8,000 Naira Palliatives for 6 months.
Now, we know that the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee might be sharing about 1.9 trillion naira. A lot of money in now. I've not heard of this in a long while. But the governors are looking at maybe not sharing the total amount. But that's really not what I'm saying now is more monies will come to both federal, states, and local governments. What are your expectations? What should be done? I think governors should focus more on, making the environment more conducive, making people being able to go to work, making things cheaper, providing gas-fired, electric-fired vehicles and all of that. What do you think should be the focus? More money is coming in now, and Nigerians are watching.
Well, I mean, obviously, one of the reasons more money is coming in is because we've eliminated the foil subsidy. So let's be very clear. The foil subsidy. So when I was buying foil at 160 Naira at a subsidized rate, as someone who doesn't need the subsidy, I was taking that money away from the teacher in Sokoto. The teacher in Sokoto, the pensioner in Cross River, they were not getting paid. And one of the reasons they were not getting paid was because of the foil subsidy. So there was no transfer to the federal account. So their money was going to me. And let's be very, very honest about it. So the very first place that when this money starts to flow back into the Federation account, and of course it's, I think 56, if I got it right, 56% federal, 24% state, 20% LGAs. When those people get the money, they should honor their obligations. And the teacher in Sokoto, the pensioner across river and across this land, people who have not been paid, whose pensions are in arrears, whose salaries are in arrears, need to be paid. That is the very first thing. The second thing, as you say, is, I mean, we've advocated for a long time because there's no alternative. Every state has to find its own economic path. And you found over the last number of years, more and more states taking on the economic responsibility, developing a coherent strategy, recognizing they have to attract investment into their state. And the states are doing it. And of course, I cite Edo State as one that's done a very good job, and Ogun State as well, Ekiti State, of course, Lagos State, Kaduna, and many, many other states are starting down the same path when they have the right sort of governance and governor on there. So the way they should do the money should fit with their economic strategy. Now, I know one thing from my training as an economist that really has a big impact is rural roads. So if you think about, we always talk about developing the agricultural sector. And in fact, PwC coined the term world food superpower for Nigeria way back in 2010. We're waiting for the day for that can happen. It can happen. But one of the prerequisites for that, of course, is the food gets from where it's grown to the markets. I think people are probably aware about half of the food in Nigeria perishes before it reaches the table. One of the biggest reasons for that, of course, is the state of rural roads. So I think for many states, I mean, the strategies that I've seen in states, all of them include some component of agriculture. No state's going to move forward without developing its agriculture and hopefully its agro-processing to add value on that. But the number one thing that can help in terms of agricultural development is being able to get product to the market. Beyond the security issue, which I mentioned at the top of the show. But the second thing is rural roads working. So I would hope to see many governors saying, look, we are going to take some of those extra resources that we get by removing the foil subsidy, and we're going to apply them to something that really makes a difference to everyone in this state, which is rural roads, so products can get to the market.
All right, before I let you go, Dr. Nevin, the distribution of these funds back to it again, some will say it's not totally wrong, but it's just that many believe that corruption, sharp practices could occur. Some could make it become political. And some now say that's where the issue of data comes in. Do you think that if we have appropriate data, a social intervention like this could still be done, but done properly?
Well, I think the country needs to be honest with itself, which is at least the programs that I've seen over my 15 years here, it's difficult for me to name a program that is delivered on what it's promised without diversions, whether it's the refund from the Club of Rome and large rebates going to so-called consultants and lawyers, whether it's the anchor borrowers program, the mass metering program, all of these types of interventions, the foil subsidy, of course, intervention in the Forex market. I mean, obviously, people who were proponents of the Forex management stood up and said there were reasons for it. We had to steer the Forex to the highest use, including, for example, the Dangote refinery. But in the end, we always found out these programs are corrupt. So, I mean, absolutely, many people during this debate over the removal of the foil subsidy have said there's nothing inherently wrong with subsidies. And they're absolutely correct. The question is, what subsidies is this country able to provide to get to the people it's intended to at this time without huge diversion? And the answer is it's hard to answer that question. I think over time, more transparency, NGOs like Budget who track where spending is done, more use of technology will get there. But to try to make a palliative program with this $800 million from the World Bank in the course of a few weeks or a few months, I suspect the country would not use those resources widely. So it's difficult for me to recommend the 8,000 Naira a month palliative program because inevitably where we are right now, that money, a large amount of that money is going to go to the wrong place.
So finally, before I let you go now, so how's it been outside work now? We all will retire one day, like you said earlier off camera. How is it like now?
Well, I have to say, I mean, one of the things at PwC Nigeria, I mean, it was a very good place for me for so many years. But under Uwe Ekpata's leadership and others, it did a fantastic job of developing young leaders. And we have many great young partners at PwC. So it was really my retirement send forth, almost fantastic to see all the young partners there and what they're capable of doing. So PwC globally has been around 160 years. In Nigeria, I think 70 years. And it's been around for a long time because we're able to transfer the leadership. So I'm immensely proud to be part of Nigeria and PwC Nigeria. But I'm also immensely happy to see such a fantastic group of young partners who are going to do a great job in taking it forward and making a real difference to Nigeria. And of course, Taiwo Dele just got appointed as chairman of the Tax Council for His Excellency President Tinubu. So another contribution by PwC people to the nation. So that's how I feel at my retirement. It was time for Nevin to move on.
Great stuff there. Thank you so much. I will keep having you join us to talk, of course, economic issues around the country and even across the globe. Thank you so much, Dr. Andrew Nevin, immediate past chief economist and partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers, then immediate past. Now, an affiliate with PwC. All right, then.